Evelyn, 72 years old, sat on the edge of her narrow, single bed, her wrinkled hands clasped tight to stop the trembling. She was wearing her best dark blue velvet dress, the one Arthur, her late husband, had bought for their 40th anniversary. Her hair was neatly combed, a touch of pale pink lipstick graced her lips. She was ready. Today was Christmas, and upstairs, her son Liam and his beautiful wife Chloe were hosting a lavish party. Evelyn took a deep breath, trying to ignore the musty, damp smell characteristic of this basement room, a place Liam euphemistically called Mother's private suite. She stood up and walked toward the stairs leading to the living room. Warm golden light spilled from the crack under the door, carrying the scent of roasted turkey and the clinking of crystal glasses. She placed her hand on the doorknob. It was cold. She turned it gently. It didn't budge. She turned it harder. Still nothing. The door was locked. From the outside. "Liam?" she called softly, her voice trembling with a vague but familiar fear. "Liam, son, the door is stuck." The door didn't open, but the music on the other side seemed to dip slightly. Heavy footsteps approached, not the sound of a key turning, but Liam's low voice vibrating through the thick oak wood. "Mom, what is it now?" "Liam, the door is locked. I want to join the party. Is everyone here?" A long, weary sigh echoed from the other side. It was distinct, sharp, cutting into her dignity like a knife. "Mom, we talked about this. Don't you remember? This morning you agreed you weren't feeling well. You said you wanted peace and quiet. The doctor said crowds would make your migraines worse." Evelyn froze. "No, I never said that. I helped Chloe fold napkins this morning. I'm fine, Liam. Open the door." "See, you're doing it again. You're confusing reality with imagination again. Chloe said you needed rest. Go to sleep, Mom. Don't make a scene. The investors are here. Don't embarrass me." Footsteps walked away. The music swelled back up. Evelyn stood paralyzed in the darkness at the foot of the stairs. She touched her forehead. "Did I say that? Do I really have a headache? Why are my memories different from his words?" That was the moment she realized the cold down here didn't just come from the basement air. It came from the brutal truth. She wasn't a beloved family member. She was a prisoner. And the warden was the son she had birthed. To understand how a respected former music teacher like Evelyn ended up here, we have to go back 6 months. After Arthur, her eccentric but loving engineer husband, passed away from a stroke, Evelyn lived alone in their 2-story wooden house in the suburbs of Seattle. It was a place filled with memories, her piano, the smell of machine oil, and the sounds of welding from Arthur's garage. Then Liam showed up. Liam, her only son, who had left for Silicon Valley 10 years ago and rarely called. He returned with the polished look of a successful tech CEO, a Tesla, the latest Apple Watch, and empty buzzwords always ready on his lips. "You can't live here alone forever, Mom," Liam said, feigning concern as he looked at the unpaid utility bills on the table. "Dad's gone, and you're getting older. This house is too big, too dangerous. Remember when you slipped on the stairs last month?" Evelyn remembered. It was just a small bruise, but in Liam's retelling, it transformed into a near-death catastrophe. "Chloe and I are buying a smart mansion in San Francisco. It has a pool, a garden, and most importantly, a private apartment just for you. You'll be cared for 24/7. You'll be close to your grandkids." Sweet promises, like honey. Evelyn, in the depths of her grief, softened. She craved family. She craved the laughter of future grandchildren. Even though Liam and Chloe didn't have kids yet, they always promised soon. And so, she signed the papers to sell the house. Liam convinced her to transfer the entire $800,000 proceeds into his company account for investment purposes and to avoid messy inheritance taxes. He said it was modern financial management. She believed him. Arthur always said I was too trusting, and perhaps he was right. But the private apartment of her dreams turned out to be this half-finished basement renovation. Liam's mansion was indeed beautiful, perched on a hill overlooking the bay, all glass and cold steel. But her place wasn't in the sunny bedrooms upstairs. "The basement is better for your joints, Mom," Chloe, the daughter-in-law glued to her phone, explained with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Stable temperature, no harsh sunlight, plus we live stream our work often. You'll have more quiet down here." At first it was subtle. They didn't physically abuse her. No beatings, no starvation, literally speaking. But they eroded her spirit. It started with small things. Evelyn looked for her reading glasses. She remembered clearly leaving them on the nightstand. But they were found in the kitchen trash can. "Oh my God, Mom, you threw your glasses in the trash can again." "Luckily, I found them. Your memory is getting really bad." Another time, she reminded Liam about her cardiologist appointment. "Mom, the appointment is next week," Liam snapped. "I wrote it on your calendar. You're messing up my schedule." Evelyn checked the calendar. It was next week, but she swore Liam had told her tomorrow, just yesterday. The dates on the calendar showed faint eraser marks, but when she pointed them out, Liam looked at her with pity. "Mom, your paranoia is getting worse." Gradually, Evelyn began to fear her own mind. She didn't dare argue anymore. Every time she opened her mouth, a voice in her head, a voice that Liam had planted, whispered, "You're old. You're senile. You're a burden." Dinner the night before Christmas Eve was the final straw. Evelyn was allowed upstairs to dine with her son and daughter-in-law. She sat at the corner of a long, cold marble table. Chloe set up a camera on a tripod, pointing it straight at the dining table. "All right, everyone, smile. Christmas live stream for the followers," Chloe chirped, her attitude shifting instantly. From a scowl at Evelyn's outdated clothes, she switched to a radiant, saintly smile. "Hi, guys. Today our family is having a cozy dinner with our beloved mother," Chloe said to the lens, walking around to hug Evelyn's shoulders. Her grip was tight, a little too tight. "Mom is much weaker this year. Her memory is fading, but we always try our best to take care of her. Right, honey?" Liam, cutting his steak, looked up with a dazzling grin. "Absolutely. Family comes first. No matter how busy startup life gets, I never leave my mom behind." Evelyn sat stiffly. She watched the phone screen where comments were scrolling rapidly. "You guys are amazing. So inspiring. Wish I could be that dutiful. The old lady looks a bit out of it, huh? Poor thing." "Chloe," Evelyn spoke up, her voice raspy. "I want to call Aunt Martha. I haven't spoken to my sister in 2 months." Chloe kept her smile for the camera, but her hand on Evelyn's shoulder squeezed a warning pinch. "Oh, sweetie," Chloe cooed, but her eyes were daggers. "Have you forgotten? Aunt Martha is traveling in Europe. She said she'd call when she gets back. You keep asking. It makes me sad." Evelyn looked down at her plate. She knew Martha would never go to Europe. Martha had severe arthritis. Walking around her own house was a struggle. But Evelyn's phone had been confiscated by Liam, claiming radio waves interfere with your pacemaker. A blatant lie, since she didn't even have a pacemaker. They had cut her off from the outside world. They turned her into a living prop for their perfect family play on social media, using the image of a frail old mother to polish their reputation and attract investors for Liam's world-changing tech company, which was actually drowning in debt. That night, while washing dishes, Evelyn overheard a conversation in the living room. "How much more do we need?" Chloe's voice was sharp. $2 million. Liam sounded stressed. "Series B funding is stalling. If we don't get a cash injection before January, we're bankrupt. The house, the cars, everything gets repossessed." "What about the old lady's house money?" "Gone. Poured into marketing, paying off old loans. You think $800K is a lot? In San Francisco, it's a drop in the bucket." "Damn it. So what now? Put her in a state nursing home? Save on food and electricity?" "No." Liam lowered his voice. My image is the family CEO. If the press finds out I dumped my mom in a cheap nursing home, the stock tanks. Just keep her in the basement. She's senile. She's easy to control. Evelyn dropped a plate. Liam stormed into the kitchen, his face red with rage. "What the hell are you doing?" My hand slipped. Evelyn trembled. "You're destroying everything," Liam hissed. Not a trace of the dutiful son left. "A parasite and a destroyer. Go to your room. You are banned from coming up here unless I say so." He shoved her toward the basement door. Not hard enough to fall, but hard enough to push her straight into the pit of despair. Back to the present. Christmas night. Evelyn walked back to her bed. The basement room was large but empty. In the corner lay piles of old cardboard boxes from the old house, things Liam called trash but hadn't thrown out yet. Evelyn sat on the floor, her stomach growling. No Christmas dinner for her, just a pack of saltine crackers left on the table in the afternoon. Her eyes fell upon a large object gathering dust in the darkest corner, covered by a plastic tarp. It was Arthur's old upright piano. Liam wanted to trash it on moving day. "This piece of junk weighs a ton. The wood is rotting, the keys stick. Better to burn it for firewood," he had said. But Evelyn had cried, begged, even threatened not to sign the house papers if she couldn't keep the piano. It was the only keepsake, the soul of Arthur. Liam reluctantly had it hauled down here, and she hadn't touched it since, too consumed by grief. But tonight, in her absolute isolation, the call of music rose stronger than ever. She needed a friend, and Arthur was there in the wood and strings. Evelyn shakily pulled off the tarp. Dust clouds rose. The piano stood there, rough, varnish peeling, exposing raw wood. It looked out of place in this cold, concrete basement, just like her. She opened the lid. The ivory keys were yellowed and chipped. She placed her hands on the keys. The cold sensation traveled through her fingertips, down her spine, awakening dormant memories. She pressed a C major chord softly. The sound was slightly out of tune, a bit buzzy, but full and warm. This wasn't like the perfect, soulless electronic music Liam played on his smart speakers. This was real. Evelyn began to play. Not a cheerful Christmas carol, but Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, Arthur's favorite. In the melody, she closed her eyes, imagining Arthur sitting beside her in his grease-stained clothes, nodding along. "You play beautifully, Evie," she almost heard him whisper. Suddenly, a key stuck. The low G key. It made no sound, just a dull thud as if hitting something hard inside. Evelyn stopped. She frowned. Arthur had fixed this key perfectly years ago. She leaned down, squinting into the gap between the keys. Something was jammed underneath. Not dust, not a paperclip. She used her strength to pry open the front wooden panel of the piano case, a move she had watched Arthur do 100 times to tune it. The panel popped off with a dry crack. Inside the piano, amidst the complex web of strings and hammers, there were no rats. There was only a brown leather bag tied securely with parachute cord to the cast iron frame, nestled in a spot you'd never see unless you took the piano apart. Evelyn's heart hammered. She tremblingly untied the bag. It was heavy. Taped to the outside was a yellowed piece of masking tape bearing Arthur's messy, heartbreakingly familiar handwriting. "For Evie, when the notes of your life feel the most out of tune, open this. Do not let Liam see it. Absolutely not." Evelyn held her breath. She looked up at the ceiling, where the laughter of the party still drifted down. Then she looked at the bag in her hands. In the darkness of the basement, under the scorn of her son,
Evelyn didn't know she was holding the key not just to the secrets of the past, but the weapon to reclaim her dignity. She shakily unzipped the bag. Evelyn sat huddled on the cold floor, a tiny flashlight, which she had secretly stashed during a power outage last week, serving as the only light source in the gloomy basement. She pulled the zipper. The smell of old leather mixed with menthol cigarettes, Arthur's signature scent hit her nose, making her eyes water. Inside, there was no gold, no diamonds, no stacks of cash like in the movies. Just three things: a battered black hardcover notebook, a rugged orange portable hard drive, and a sealed envelope. Evelyn opened the envelope first. Inside was a business card and a stack of old $100 bills, totaling about $2,000. The card had simple embossed text: Elias Vance, intellectual property and patent advocate, San Francisco. On the back, Arthur had scrawled a note: "If you are reading this, it means I'm gone and you're in trouble. Don't call from the house. Go see Elias. Trust only Elias." Evelyn opened the notebook. The pages were filled with mathematical formulas, endless lines of code, and complex geometric diagrams she couldn't comprehend. Arthur was always like this, living in a world of numbers and algorithms that people thought were crazy. She flipped through until she stopped at a page circled in red marker. There, Arthur wrote in large, shaky but proud letters: "Project Omega complete. Compression ratio 500 to 1. No data loss. The key to the future." Evelyn closed the book. She didn't understand what compression ratio meant, but she understood Arthur. He never used the word complete unless he was 100% sure. All his life, people called him a mad engineer, a dreamer. Liam even called his father a magnificent failure, but Arthur never cared. He always said, "They laugh at me because I'm different. I laugh at them because they're all the same." She stuffed everything deep into the lining of her oversized wool cardigan. The party upstairs had ended. The thumping footsteps of drunk guests ceased. The house fell into the silence of a post-Christmas hangover. Evelyn knew her chance had come. She needed to get out. Not to run away forever, she wasn't strong enough for that yet, but to find answers.
The next morning, the mansion was as silent as a tomb. Liam and Chloe would surely sleep until noon after drinking bottle after bottle of wine. Evelyn tiptoed up the stairs. The door to the living room was still locked, but she knew a secret that Liam, proud of his smart home, had overlooked: the basement ventilation window leading to the backyard where the recycling bins were kept. It was small and tight, but with her current frail, thin frame, squeezing through wasn't impossible. She dragged a cardboard box over, climbed up, and struggled through the small opening. The cold morning air slapped her face, but it tasted like freedom. She landed on the wet grass, panting. Her heart pounded like it wanted to leap out of her chest. If Liam caught her now, he would have an excuse to commit her to a psych ward immediately for wandering and dangerous behavior. Evelyn pulled her hood up, walking briskly out of the gated community. She walked nearly 2 miles to the nearest bus stop, catching an early bus to downtown San Francisco. On the bus, she clutched the cash in her pocket, eyes darting around like a fugitive. She was terrified of seeing Liam's Tesla glide by. But no one noticed her. To everyone else, she was just a homeless old lady, shabbily dressed, perhaps a bit senile. And for the first time in her life, Evelyn realized that being invisible was a gift. Liam and Chloe were so used to treating her like air, like furniture, that they would never suspect she was smart enough or brave enough to do something this bold. The address on the card led her to an old red brick building nestled between the glass skyscrapers of the financial district. Elias Vance's office was on the 3rd floor, smelling of old paper and burnt coffee. When Evelyn entered, he looked up over his thick glasses, his eyes widening in shock. "Evelyn! Evelyn Miller!" He stood up, his wooden chair creaking in protest.
Good Lord, Arthur was right. He said you would come, but I didn't think it would be this soon. You know me? Evelyn asked, her voice trembling. I do. Arthur spoke of you in every meeting. My muse, he called you. Elias poured her a cup of warm water, his eyes filled with sorrow as he took in her haggard appearance. You look exhausted. Evelyn pulled out the orange hard drive and the notebook. Arthur left this. He told me to find you. Elias, please tell me, my husband, was he crazy? Elias took the drive, handling it like a precious jewel. He sighed, a sad smile playing on his lips. Crazy? No, Evelyn. Arthur was a genius, forbidden by the world, but he didn't care about the world. He only cared about protecting you. Elias plugged the drive into the only modern-looking computer in the room, an isolated server with no internet connection. He typed a long password. The screen lit up with thousands of lines of data, cascading like a waterfall. Do you know what Liam does? Asked Elias. He runs a video data compression company. For virtual reality apps, Evelyn answered hesitantly. Correct, and his technology is hitting a wall, Elias explained, his voice hardening. Liam has been trying to replicate his father's work for 10 years but failed. He only created buggy products, resource-heavy and slow. He pointed to the screen. But this, Evelyn, this is the prototype, the final version Arthur completed right before he died. It is a perfect compression algorithm. Imagine fitting the entire Netflix library onto this tiny thumb drive with zero loss in quality. It is the holy grail of Silicon Valley. Evelyn gasped. How much is it worth? Elias looked her straight in the eye, his face grave. 2 weeks ago, a major tech conglomerate, I won't name them, but think of the biggest names in the world, reached out through intermediaries to inquire about similar tech. The starting offer for a perpetual license was $150 million. $150 million? Evelyn whispered, feeling the room spin. She gripped the edge of the table. Her son had swindled her out of $800,000 and locked her in a basement while she was carrying $150 million on her person. But why didn't Arthur sell it? She asked through tears. Why did he let us live so frugally? Because Arthur knew Liam, Elias said. Arthur knew if he sold it while alive, or if news got out, Liam would try to steal it. Arthur wanted to leave it to you and only you. He registered the copyright under Evelyn Miller, your maiden name, not your married name, to avoid any standard inheritance disputes. Elias opened a drawer, pulling out a thick legal file. Arthur gave me power of attorney. These are the IP ownership documents. With just one signature, Evelyn, you become a wealthy and powerful woman. You can sell it, donate it, or burn it if you want. But, Elias hesitated. But what? Liam is in deep trouble. His company is nearing bankruptcy. He's hunting everywhere for a savior technology. If he finds out you have this... Evelyn remembered Liam's red-rimmed eyes last night, the way he shoved her into the dark. He won't stop at anything, she said, her voice ice-cold. The weakness in her seemed to evaporate, replaced by a terrifying clarity. Elias wanted to put her in a hotel and wanted to call the police, but Evelyn refused. Not yet, she said. If I disappear now, they'll report me missing and claim I'm senile. They'll use guardianship laws to invalidate my decisions. I have to go back. Evelyn returned to the mansion at 11 a.m. The house was still quiet. She climbed back through the basement window, dirty and bruised, but her mindset had shifted completely. She hid the hard drive inside the piano, stuffed the notebook into a pillowcase, and burned Elias's card in the sink, flushing the ash away. Just in time. The basement door burst open. Liam's hurried footsteps thundered down. "Mom, where are you?" he shouted, panic in his voice. He ran down, seeing Evelyn sitting on the bed, holding an old book, looking dazed. "I'm here," she said, her voice trembling. A performance. What's wrong, Liam? I just woke up. Liam exhaled, wiping sweat from his forehead. He stared at her dirty clothes. Where did you go? Why are you covered in dirt? I fell, Evelyn lied without blinking. I tried to get water and tripped over that box. Liam looked at her suspiciously, but his phone rang. He answered immediately. Hello. Yes, this is Liam. What? Google wants to cancel the meeting? No, you have to wait. I have a solution. I swear. I'm holding Breakthrough Tech. Yes. Give me 3 days. Just 3 days. He hung up, throwing the phone onto her shabby sofa, pulling at his hair. Damn it! He roared. Vultures. They smell blood. Evelyn sat silently, observing her son. Before, she would have worried, asked what was wrong, and offered money. Now she only saw a wounded animal thrashing in a trap of its own making. Liam turned to look at her, his eyes gleaming with a dangerous, calculating look she had never seen before. Mom, he said, his voice suddenly becoming terrifyingly soft. Dad? Did Dad leave any documents? I mean, besides those stupid diaries. Did he have a hard drive or blueprints? Evelyn's heart skipped a beat. He suspected, or he was desperate enough to ransack the past. I don't know, she shook her head, eyes wide and vacant. Your father just liked playing the piano. You know that. Liam stared at her for a long time, trying to read her. Then he looked over at the old piano in the corner. That piano, he muttered, stepping closer. Yesterday I heard music. Were you playing? Evelyn held her breath. The $150 million drive was right inside the belly of that instrument. If he opened the lid, he would see the orange hard drive sitting plainly on the wooden frame. Liam stood frozen before the piano, his hand hovering over the lid. Just one motion to lift it, and he would see the orange hard drive sitting plainly on the wooden frame. Evelyn felt the blood in her veins turn to ice. She had to do something. Now. Rats! Evelyn suddenly screamed, shrinking back and pointing a trembling finger under the piano. Liam! Rats! I just saw a sewer rat the size of a cat crawl in there. It looked at me. Its eyes were red. Liam jumped back as if burned. He retreated 2 steps, his face full of disgust. He was a pampered man who feared filth above all else. Are you crazy, Mom? There are no rats, he shouted, but his eyes darted nervously to the shadows beneath the instrument, daring not to approach.
There are. It made a nest there. Evelyn continued her performance, her voice cracking with fake panic. It chews the strings. Every night I hear scratching. It's horrible. Take it away, Liam. Fine, shut up, Liam snapped, brushing off his sleeves as if fearing contamination. I'll call exterminators. Stop screaming. He looked at the piano with utter loathing. This piece of junk is just a breeding ground for vermin. I should have trashed it from the start. He turned and stormed upstairs, muttering curses about his $1 million smart home having rats. Evelyn exhaled, her body slumping against the wall. She had won this round. Liam wouldn't dare touch the piano again, but she knew her time was running out. The exterminators would come, and they would find the drive. She had to act first. That afternoon, while Liam and Chloe went out for dinner to de-stress, Evelyn did something she never thought she'd dare. She took out the old flip phone she had hidden, one Liam threw away thinking it was broken, inserted a prepaid SIM she bought that morning, and sent an encrypted text to Elias following the instructions in the notebook. The message was just 3 words: activate the trap. 2 days later, Liam brought a stranger home. Mom, this is Dr. Roberts, Liam introduced, his voice suspiciously sweet. He's a top neurologist. I invited him to check on you. You've been so forgetful lately. Evelyn looked at the man named Roberts. He wore a white coat but expensive Italian shoes, and his eyes held no medical ethics, only cold scrutiny. Evelyn recognized the scent of a sellout. "Hello, Mrs. Evelyn," Robert said, pulling out a file. "Let's do some small tests. Do you remember what day it is?" Evelyn knew exactly that it was Tuesday. She knew exactly how much debt Liam owed the bank. She knew exactly she was holding $150 million in assets. But she looked at Roberts, smiled vacantly, her eyes glazed over. "Is it Sunday? I just got back from church." Robert smirked, glancing at Liam significantly. He continued with simple questions, and Evelyn got them all wrong. She even pretended not to recognize Chloe when she entered, calling her nurse. "Rapidly progressing dementia," Roberts concluded after 15 minutes, tapping his pen on the file. "She has completely lost temporal and spatial awareness. She lacks the capacity to make any legal or financial decisions." Liam tried to hide a triumphant grin. "So, what about the guardianship procedure, doctor?" "I will sign the medical affidavit immediately. With this, you can petition the court for full conservatorship. You will have the power to manage all assets and sign all documents on her behalf, for her own good, of course." "Of course," Liam said, greed lighting up his eyes. "For Mom's sake." Evelyn sat still on the chair, fiddling with the hem of her shirt. Bile rose in her throat. Her son didn't just want money. He wanted to strip her of her humanity. He wanted to turn her into a lifeless doll he could manipulate. But Liam didn't know that on her wool collar, the cheap flower brooch she wore today was actually a disguised microcamera, a toy Elias had slipped to her via a pizza delivery yesterday. Every word, every dirty plot, was being recorded and streamed directly to Elias's law office server. That night, Evelyn lay in bed, wearing a tiny earpiece connected to a recorder. She eavesdropped on Liam and Chloe's conversation upstairs through a bug she had stuck under the living room table. "Are you sure old Elias doesn't have a will?" Chloe's voice was anxious. "Positive. Dad died suddenly. Elias is just a patent lawyer, not a family attorney. Besides, with Dr. Roberts' affidavit, any old will can be contested. We are the legal guardians." "What about that company, Tech Global?" "They agreed." Liam's voice was euphoric. "They don't care who created the algorithm. They just need the IP rights to the prototype Dad left. I found an old backup in the papers Mom gave me when we sold the house. It's incomplete, but enough to trick Tech Global into signing the contract." Evelyn frowned. Liam was lying. He had no backup. He was planning to use some garbage software to scam the world's biggest tech giant, and he intended to use his guardianship over her to sign the contract, pushing all legal liability on her head. "How much?" $80 million. But there's a condition. The contract requires the signature of the original owner or legal guardian. Tomorrow, Tech Global lawyers are coming here. I'll sign for Mom using the conservatorship. Once the money hits the account, we dump the old hag in the cheapest nursing home in Nevada. I never want to see her funeral face again." "Perfect," Chloe giggled. "I've already picked out a Hermes bag for the celebration party." In the basement, Evelyn took out the earpiece. She didn't cry. Her tears had dried up long ago. Instead, a strange calm settled over her. She opened Arthur's bag, taking out a legal document Elias had prepared. It was the poison pill. The next morning, the mansion's living room was decorated lavishly. Champagne was on ice. 3 men in black suits entered. They were the legal team from Tech Global, Silicon Valley's most powerful corporation. Leading them was Mr. Sterling, a lawyer known for being ruthless and sharp. Liam greeted them with the confident smile of a winner. He held his mother's mental incapacity papers in his hand. "Gentlemen, everything is ready," Liam said, shaking Sterling's hand. "My mother, Evelyn, is currently in poor health, so I'll be signing as her guardian. We need to verify the legality of the guardianship first. We want zero trouble down the line." "Of course,"
Liam presented Dr. Roberts' paper. The doctor confirmed she has total loss of capacity. Just then, the living room door opened. Evelyn walked in. But not the shabby, confused old woman of days past. She wore a sleek black velvet dress, her hair in an elegant bun, light makeup enhancing her dignity. She sat in a wheelchair, although she could walk, pushed by Elias himself. Behind Elias were 2 police officers and a court clerk. The room fell silent. Liam dropped his champagne glass. Crash. "Mom, what the hell are you?" Liam stammered, his face draining of blood. "Good morning, gentlemen," Evelyn spoke. Her voice was resonant, clear and steel-hard, with 0 signs of dementia. "I am Evelyn Miller, wife of the late engineer Arthur Miller, and the sole owner of the algorithm you wish to acquire." Mr. Sterling raised an eyebrow, looking from Evelyn to Liam. "What is the meaning of this, Mr. Liam? You said your mother was mentally unfit." "She's crazy!" Liam screamed, lunging at Evelyn but blocked by an officer. "This is a hallucination. She's acting. Dr. Roberts confirmed." "Dr. Roberts?" Elias stepped forward, calmly holding up a tablet. "You mean the doctor who accepted a $50,000 bribe to falsify medical records? We have video of that transaction, as well as audio of you plotting to defraud Czech Global with fake software." Elias pressed play. Liam's voice echoed through the silent room, clear as day, discussing scamming Tech Global and dumping the old hag. Liam's face went from white to gray. Chloe stood frozen in the corner, shaking so hard she dropped the phone she was about to live stream with. Mr. Sterling listened, his face hardening. He turned to Liam with utter contempt. "Trying to defraud our corporation? You have some nerve, kid." Liam trembled, turning to beg Evelyn. Mom, don't do this. I'm your son. I just wanted what was best for the company."
Evelyn looked at the son kneeling at her feet. She felt no triumph, only pity, but she knew that pity now was the poison that would kill her. "I have a proposal for Tech Global," Evelyn said to Sterling, ignoring Liam. "I will sell the real prototype to you, the perfect version my husband spent his life writing. It is on this hard drive." She pulled the orange drive from her purse. The Tech Global lawyer's eyes lit up like they were seeing gold. "But," Evelyn continued, her voice cold as ice, "I have a condition, or rather, a poison pill clause in the transfer contract." "What condition, ma'am?" Sterling asked, with immense respect. Evelyn pulled out the legal document she and Elias drafted last night. She signed it with a firm stroke, then pushed it to Sterling. "The condition is, the entire $150 million goes into a trust in my name. And Liam here," she pointed a finger at her son's face, "will never receive a single cent from this money, nor is he allowed to work for any company that utilizes my husband's technology. If violated, the license is immediately revoked." Liam collapsed to the floor. He knew his career in Silicon Valley had just officially ended. Liam's lavish living room was now as chaotic as a battlefield. Mr. Sterling and the Tech Global team packed up their files, shooting one last look of disdain at Liam. The contract was signed, but with Mrs. Evelyn. "We will wire the $50 million deposit to the trust this afternoon," Sterling said, bowing respectfully to Evelyn. "An honor doing business with you, Mrs. Miller. Your husband was truly a legend." As the suits left, the 2 police officers stepped forward. "Liam Miller?" the sergeant asked, voice stern. "We have a warrant for your arrest on charges of commercial fraud and conspiracy to commit elder abuse. The evidence provided by Elias Vance's office is irrefutable." The metallic click of handcuffs cut through the air, a cold sound interrupting the soothing background music the smart home was still automatically playing. "No, you can't arrest me. I'm a CEO. I'm an entrepreneur. Mom, tell them to stop. You can't do this to your own son." Evelyn watched her son being escorted away. His face was twisted, snot and tears streaming down, stripped of all his usual arrogance. Did her heart break? Yes. What mother's heart wouldn't break seeing her child fall?
But she knew if she intervened now, she wouldn't be saving him, she would only be enabling the monster inside him. "I'm not doing anything, Liam," Evelyn said softly, her voice sad but firm. "You did this. You chose money over family. And now you must pay the price for that choice." In the corner, Chloe, the precious daughter-in-law, had quickly packed a bag. She didn't look at Liam once. I have nothing to do with this," Chloe told the police, voice trembling. "I didn't know about his fraud. I'm just a victim. I want a divorce." Liam stared at his wife. "Chloe? What are you saying? We were partners." "Shut up," Chloe hissed. "Don't drag me down with you. You're a failure, Liam. I'm sick of pretending to be happy with a loser like you." Evelyn shook her head. The model family social media play finally dropped its curtains, revealing the rot and naked calculation beneath. A week later, Evelyn returned to the mansion one last time. The bank had sealed the house for foreclosure. Liam and Chloe's luxury furniture was tagged for auction. Evelyn walked with Elias and professional movers. "Do you want to buy this house back?" Elias asked. "With your current assets, you could buy the whole block." Evelyn looked around the cold house, down at the basement door where she was once caged. "No," she answered decisively. "This place isn't a home. It's a cage. Let the bank sell it." "What do you want to take?" Evelyn pointed to the corner, where Arthur's old piano still stood tall and proud amidst the clutter. "Just this, and Arthur's photo." The movers carefully carried the piano out. This time, it was wrapped in velvet blankets, treated like a royal treasure, not tossed around like trash. Evelyn walked out the door, the bright sun hitting her face. She took a deep breath. The air no longer smelled of mold or Chloe's overpowering perfume. It smelled only of freedom. Time flew by in the blink of an eye. San Francisco, a crisp autumn morning. A historic building in the city center had just been renovated, hanging a shining bronze plaque, the Arthur Miller Academy of Music and Innovation, tuition-free for underprivileged youth. Inside, the sounds of piano, violin, and laughter echoed through the halls. Evelyn, looking 10 years younger, with a chic haircut and a cream-colored suit, stood on the auditorium stage. She was no longer the senile old woman despised by her son. She was the chairwoman of the Miller Foundation, honored by Forbes as Philanthropist of the Year. She watched a small, timid boy sitting at the piano, Arthur's old piano, now perfectly restored. The boy placed his hands on the keys, playing a hesitant tune. Evelyn walked over, sitting beside him. "Don't be afraid," she said kindly. "This piano was once abandoned, just like you might feel sometimes. But inside, it held a treasure, and so do you." The boy looked at her, eyes brightening. Together they began to play a duet. The music rose, healing souls, connecting strangers into a real family. Elias stood in the wings, nodding with satisfaction. He knew Arthur was smiling down from heaven. The greatest legacy Arthur left behind wasn't the compression algorithm. It was the unconditional love Evelyn was now spreading to the world. A few blocks away, at a crowded Starbucks, a middle-aged man with messy hair, wearing a uniform stained with coffee, was scrubbing a table. It was Liam. After prison, he served 8 months for lesser fraud charges because Evelyn pleaded for leniency. Liam lost everything: wife gone, house gone, permanently blacklisted from the tech industry. No one hired a former CEO with a fraud record who abused his mother. He had to work menial jobs to survive, living in a shabby room worse than the basement he locked his mother in. "Hey you, this table is filthy, wipe it again," a customer barked. Yes, sorry," Liam bowed, rushing over. On the cafe's wall-mounted TV, the news was broadcasting the Music Academy's grand opening live. The image of a radiant, elegant Evelyn, surrounded by happy children and city officials, appeared. The anchor spoke. Mrs. Evelyn Miller, the woman with a heart of gold and intellectual property worth hundreds of millions, announced her will today. All her assets will be donated to educational charities. She shared, "Family is not DNA. Family are the people who cherish you when you have nothing in your hands." Liam froze in the middle of the cafe, the rag dropping from his hand. He watched the mother on the screen, the mother he threw away like expired goods. She was smiling, the happiest smile he had ever seen. He bent down to pick up the rag, bitter tears streaming down his face. He once held everything in his hands, a loving mother, a life-changing opportunity, but he smashed it with his own hands, and now he was the invisible one. Evelyn sat alone in her office at the end of the day. Sunset painted the room gold. She opened a small locket, taking out Arthur's old photo. "See, Arthur," she whispered, "I'm not alone. I have hundreds of children here." She placed her hands on the piano keys, playing the final note of the Moonlight Sonata. The sound resonated, floating into the air, leaving a sweet aftertaste of justice and humanity. Sometimes people think the greatest legacy parents leave is money, but truly, it is the lesson on how to be human. The greedy will receive emptiness, while those who give will receive the world. Evelyn found her own symphony, a song not meant for the ungrateful.